And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's a snack pack, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's Gerald Glassford. Coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Please go ahead and check out my latest episodes on the Pop Culture Cosmos channels, including thoughts on the Switch 2, most anticipated stuff that's going on in pop culture. I talk about Severance coming back on the air on Apple TV Plus and CES 2025 and more. So go ahead and check it out. Squid Game season 2 as well. Go ahead and check out what we think about all these great things on the Pop Culture Cosmos channels on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, as well, Joe Soro is here. Go ahead and check out what he's doing today. It's Oxide247 to LakersBall.com. Of course, also as well, go ahead and check out what he is doing with his company, Simblades. Simblades with the Y.com for your lawn transformative needs. Go ahead and get a new lawn today with Joe, or he does even more. Go ahead and check out all the great work he has done at Simblades, Simblades with the Y.com. Plus, also as well, he is financing to help a dream come true, and it is now up to you to help that dream of Joe's come true by going ahead and on Steam and downloading today Corrupt, Coreupt, the indie fighting game of 2025 on Steam. Also, as well, of course, Empire Jeff TV, who was on earlier talking about Sasaki and his press conference about how happy he is to become a Dodger. Go ahead and check out his thoughts right there. Of course, also as well, our good friends Stone Hansen, Alfred Esmond, Legend 350, the Lakerholics crew at Lakerholics.com. All these great people like and subscribe. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. Yo, all these great people go ahead and support today. Don't forget also as well to like and subscribe with them. Follow if you need to on Facebook and Twitch. Go ahead and do all that great stuff, but don't forget to like and subscribe here because we need your help. We need more subscribers. We need more people viewing this great channel of ours. Plus, also as well, become a member today. We get inside stuff. I put articles there. I also put videos there, shorts there, all the good stuff that not everybody else gets a chance to take out, and take in and check out. Go ahead and check it out today for just $2.99 a month. Indeed. All right. Back on a Wednesday night. Robert says, Gerald, Joe, why is the Clippers Boston game in overtime? Clippers rested all the starters. I think I know why. Well, maybe the Boston Celtics organization may want to give you a call if you think, you know why, if that's the case. But Joe, it is going to overtime because Boston has choked the late lead, but they are with very early in the overtime. They're up 6 right now on the Clippers. So as I had hoped on last night's show, and we'll get into the Boston Celtics Lakers preview first, since that's where Robert has taken us first, before we get into some trade scenarios, and then, of course, Kobe's 81-point game. Because of that, Celtics on the road have scored their first 6 points. So as of right now, with about a little under 4 minutes remaining, they have the lead in overtime. But as I had hoped, they are getting tested tonight against the Clippers team that does not have, like Robert said, some of their key personnel in there. What does that say for tomorrow with the game against the Lakers?
It says nothing. Usually Lakers lose these games against teams that play on the back end of a back-to-back. I gotta look at the schedule on that one. That was a tough one.
Well, you noted that yesterday, and that is correct. And then also as well, 11-17, which Robert, again, as he focuses on the teams under 500, I'm focusing more on the teams above 500. That is also of concern. And when you're 11-17 against the teams above 500, that tells me a team like Boston coming tomorrow will give the Lakers a big test. And this will be a big test for the Lakers if they can get this. Or the Lakers at their current roster makeup, before we talk any more trades, can actually think of themselves going forward in the Western Conference. Because right now, as it stands, with the Clippers still playing right there in overtime. They're still a half game behind the Clippers in the Western Conference. If that's the case, they'll be in a virtual tie with the Clippers if the Clippers end up losing. Sacramento did beat Golden State with a late push late against the Warriors, like I talked about. So they are just behind the Lakers, one game behind. Minnesota also won tonight, Joe, beating Dallas. And now both those teams are now tied a game and a half out. It's getting interesting, Joe. It's getting interesting. So the Lakers have to go ahead and maximize every game possible. They've got a road trip upcoming with quite a few winnable games, but right now, with the way it stands, the whole Western Conference, that middle part to bottom part, is in flux right now as far as the Western Conference playoff standings.
Yeah, it's going to be like that the rest of the year. There's only 4 games between the 11th and the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing. That could be a bad week versus a good week from one of those teams. The Kings have won 9 of the last 10, I think, and they're on a run. I don't know what Doug Christie did to that team. I don't know what Mike Brown was doing to that team, but apparently they're listening to Doug Christie and playing kind of like how they were a couple of years ago.
Because Golden State had a double-digit lead, Joe, late in the third quarter in that one and blew it.
I'm curious to one of the more curious things next here is what is Golden State going to do at the end of the year? That's a good NBA question. Are they going to clean it up, or are they going to continue to do what the Lakers have been doing and running it back and hoping they could muster some kind of miracle? They seem to be in the same rut that the Lakers are in. They have this aging star who's still productive to a degree. What makes it worse is that the Lakers have 2 guys, though. One is not over the hill yet, and yet they're still kind of together in that area. Maybe not by record yet, but it's still they're in that purgatory area where they're not gonna be sucky enough to get a draft pick, and they're not gonna be good enough to win a championship. So I don't know what the hell they're gonna do in Golden State. I really don't. Sacramento. Most of the time when you have a new coach, it does last a little bit, but this is actually lasting a little longer than I thought. And maybe there's something there. I don't know if they make a trade during the deadline that helps them maybe catapult the 5th seed type thing, but that'll be something we have to look at. As far as tomorrow's game, I had this docked as a loss before they started this homestand. That's just one of those things where I just don't think the Lakers team is good enough to beat the Celtics, even though they're at home. If they were to beat them, they would probably need to hope that the Celtics have an off night from 3, but the Lakers guard the 3 like I do. I can guard the 5 freeway by myself. It's just not something that's realistic.
I was wondering what you were going to come up with as an analogy on that one. I was just waiting for it.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, the 5 freeway is a very popular freeway here in Southern California,
Yes.
and there's a lot of traffic. The 405 is another one, but the 405 is kind of relegated to the Orange County, LA area, whereas the 5 goes all over.
I used to always say, because when I went to Hollywood and when I worked in the movie industry, I would always say I'm on the 110 parking lot going to the 101. Going on to the 101, going nowhere. So yeah, the 405, the 5, they're all bad. They're all bad, Joe. They're all bad. I mean, Las Vegas does have its share of now, I guess, traffic issues as far as on the freeways, but to me, it's like a breeze. It's just like a breeze compared to the freeways that you currently frequent right now, Joe.
Yeah, it was a bummer the other day. I had to go to Beverly Hills to get some permits, and I got up early and left at about 5:10. Still got to Beverly Hills at 9.
Doesn't help you at all. Trust me, I know this all too well. So yes, absolutely. But of course, it is Lakers and the Celtics. Tomorrow we will have it on playback. I will have it turned on and set up for you guys. Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. Hopefully the crew will be there on stage. No, I was not a movie star, Eduardo. I would not be talking to you, talking on this show right now if I was. I worked behind the scenes for two different special effects companies. Just kind of, I don't say, yeah, a low level job. Just digital, working in digital protection, things of that nature. Just a small entry job that I did for a couple years. So it was interesting. Got to work on, stuff that they sent you over that needed special effects on. I worked on about 15, 16 movies during the course of the two jobs I worked. Yeah, but I think Species is probably the one. Species, Outbreak, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Angels in the Outfield, mid-level stuff like that. So there you go. Nothing really high. Natural Born Killers. I will just say Oliver Stone back then, Joe. Yeah, he wanted some crazy stuff happening, and I'll leave it at that.
Crazy stuff, as in for his films or for himself?
For his films, I didn't know him on a personal level. We only met a couple stars here and there during my time there, but yeah, it. I'll just say that some stuff. So yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, you got to see stuff obviously before on a daily basis. You got to see these shots that would be integral to the films on a regular basis, on a daily basis, because we had dailies every morning to see how our work was progressing, and that was an interesting part of the deal. But yeah, that was a long time ago. So, yes, I did work on Angels in the Outfield. My only credit is on the movie Double Dragon, just to let you know. So if you're looking for me on IMDb, I think I was on IMDb at one time. I'm not sure, but yes, for Double Dragon. So that movie is not aged well, and neither has the special effects for that matter, if you've seen it. So I'll leave it at that. But Joe, getting back to the Lakers and Celtics, it looks like the Celtics, with about a minute left, Joe, Celtics only up by 2. So they've got both teams don't have their starters in there, their full starter contingent. So that's also a concern that the Celtics are going to go in there with some rested guys. Porzingis didn't play tonight. Al Horford didn't play tonight. Drew Holiday didn't play tonight. Were they saving them for the Lakers?
Sure. No matter how weak or strong a team is, the Celtic Laker games should always be a win in terms of the narrative. And the Lakers are going to have to. I mean, I don't know. Does this team have the pride to understand that rivalry? I know LeBron does a little bit. AD doesn't really know it too much. And LeBron's Celtic thing has more to do with when he was in Cleveland, though.
Mhm.
But who on this team really understands the rivalry, other than Genie, maybe?
Mhm.
No one. So there's a lot lost on this. We're looking at it from more of a trying to keep up in the standings situation more than the Celtics. Celtics, at least for right now, look a little bit less than what they were last year, which is a good sign. We don't know if it'll change in the playoffs. And the Laker fan is battling two things right now: the ability to try and salvage whatever the hell this is, and maybe hope for some miracle, or we can't afford to have the Celtics win another championship. Otherwise, we're not going to see them pass the Celtics in our lifetime, which would be a bummer.
A not possibility for Thursday's game, but a possibility for Saturday or beyond is Jared Vanderbilt, who was cleared to play once again, Joe. He'll be on a very limited minutes restrictive schedule once he gets back, but the earliest he'll come back, according to the coach, if he decides to put him in, is on Saturday. Jared Vanderbilt, and don't worry, Robert, I got your question. I'll get your question here in a second. Jared Vanderbilt, again, to some, I'll throw that out there from the other day. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all good in 5 games once Jared comes back. So I don't share that optimism. Again, it's been a year almost to the day. Well, actually, take a week off, but almost a year to the day when he got injured. So he's been out of the lineup for about a year. I don't know how much he realistically can help us in the short term, but maybe in the long term he can give us something as well. But again, we'll have to wait and see. But your thoughts on Jared Vanderbilt coming back as early as possibly Saturday?
I don't have thoughts on Jared Vanderbilt. There's going to be discussions about him needing to get acclimated to the team. He's starting out in January. How's he going to affect the game? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
really have.
asking because you know that our fan base, some of our fan base is just clinging on to that Vanderbilt hope right there.
I don't. I haven't talked to anyone near me that gives two craps about Jared Vanderbilt. We don't even know if he's on the team sometimes. I guess he could help out on defense if he's got enough stamina, but NBA stamina is different, especially when you're out almost a year. It's just not.
It's not. It's just not what you think it is. But I hear you on that. Joe, are you still with me? All right. Well, again, it is Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate you joining us. It is, of course, Joe Soro. I'm going to have to get him on here in a second because I think we lost him. But guys, hopefully you can hear me out there. If you can, give me the heads up and give me the sign. It is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again. The Clippers and the Lakers coming up tomorrow. It is, of course, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us if you can for that while we go ahead and talk to you out there. All right. There we go. All right.
We go
All right.
out.
There we go. Yes. Are you out? Part of you is on. There you go. I see a picture of you now. All right. Yes. All right. Well, if that's the case, again, it is the Lakers and the Celtics coming up tomorrow. Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. The Clippers and Celtics, they're just about finished. 25 seconds left. Well, they could go to a double overtime. It's 115, 113 Celtics. Joe, we heard your thoughts on Jared Vanderbilt. We heard your thoughts on the game as far as that's concerned for tomorrow, but we haven't talked trades. We promised individuals we would talk trades, but before we do, I want to hit up to another question by Robert because I think he's taking a quest, Joe. He is on an eternal quest to try and turn us around into his way of thinking, when in reality, we are trying to do the same thing and tell him our truths that will probably point him in a more clear direction, in our opinion. But we like his optimism and we do truly appreciate it. But he says, Joe and Gerald, do you believe that the best team always wins the championship every year? If not, why do give the Lakers no chance to win the title this year? Unless you think the Lakers are fifth best in the West. Well, I will say, Robert, again, I thought the Lakers would be the ninth best team in the Western Conference. So, which very still well could happen. And if that's the case, I don't think they will win a championship as the ninth best team in the Western Conference, if my prediction holds true. Do I think they are now? Again, from one day to the next, you never know what's going to happen with this team because they are so unreliable on both ends of the floor, Joe.
Well, let's do a little history lesson here, guys. Let's talk about the champions since 2000. We're going to stick to the 21st century. The 2000 Lakers were the best team in 2001. 2001, the Lakers were the best team in 2001. They won. 2002, some argued that maybe the Sacramento Kings were the best. Would you say that, Gerald?
Yeah.
Or was it still the Lakers in 2002?
I still say it's
because I'm going to be biased at that point, right? You still have Kobe and Shaq doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
But some would argue that, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't until the year that they lost to Detroit. Even leading up to that, Joe, they got off to a tremendous start that year. It looked like it was going to be the Lakers for a four-peat that year, Joe.
Yeah. Well, the four-peat was 03.
Well, that's what I meant. I meant that they were so good that in 01, 02, I even thought 03 that they were going to continue that success. So, yes, based on what you said, 02 and 03, absolutely, that area.
So 02, you'd have some argument that the Kings were a better team than the Lakers. I don't believe that, but some would. '03, it's safe to say that was Tim Duncan's. I think that was the only year Tim Duncan should have won an
If I hear
MVP.
one more Tim Donaghy joke, Joe, yeah, that's
And by the way, Tim Donaghy did not ref in that series. He had money on the game probably, but he didn't ref that series. So, and if you guys want to see a travesty, you need to watch Game 5 and Game 6. Game 5, if you need a clearer look, you can go on Google and see it. Kobe had the last shot in Game 5, could have won the game, got his jersey pulled out of his shorts. Those jerseys at that time were down to your ankles. Got his jersey pulled out on the last shot with no foul call. On Bobby Jackson pulled his jersey out. So that whole game was a travesty. I remember after the game, I was like, "This is the most rigged game I've ever seen." And then of course the opposition said the same thing about Game 6. So in my book, those two games evened out, and then the correct team won Game 7. So 04, obviously, Pistons were not the better team that year. They won. 05, you can say San Antonio was better than Detroit by a hair. I can go with that. 06, Miami beat Dallas. Would you say that Miami was better that year than Dallas?
No.
Okay, so we're going to stick Miami on that one. 07, this is the year that Dallas went 67-15, got bounced by the Golden State Warriors in the first round. And then, of course, San Antonio beat Cleveland that year. Would you say Dallas was a better team than the San Antonio Spurs that year?
I think so.
Really? Dallas is better than San Antonio? So you think that Dallas would Dallas have beaten San Antonio had they faced the playoffs?
I want to say yes. I
don't agree.
Okay. I just think Nowitzki was that. I'm a big Nowitzki fan. I think Nowitzki just was how he changed the game. I know you're a huge Duncan fan. Well, you're a Duncan fan. You're more of a Duncan fan than I am, and I'm maybe more of a Nowitzki fan than you are. So maybe we see it slightly differently. But I'm sure both teams were very good at that time. But I would have given the slight edge to Dallas. But that's just me. So
the one that hurts. 08. I believe the Lakers were a better team than the Celtics, but for some weird,
I definitely agree with you there.
They were favored going into that finals. They should have won that series. The second half of that Game 4 took them out. It's frustrating thinking about it because they were up 20 late in the third. They were up 24 at one point. They should have won that game. Had they won that game, I firmly believe they would have won Game 5 again, and then Boston would have been scared out of their ass in Game 6 in Boston. Kobe would have probably closed that sucker out. But that's that. 09, definitely the Lakers. 2010, definitely the Lakers. 11, I think Miami was a better team than Dallas. I think Miami should have won that series, but they folded like really bad toilet paper. At least LeBron did. And for the LeBron fans, that series is one of two reasons why you can never put LeBron ahead of Jordan. 2012, I think it's pretty obvious that Miami was the best team. 2013, this is an interesting one. Would you say San Antonio was better that year?
What do you think?
I'm going to go with Miami. They won, so I'm just going to stick with Miami. The following year, San Antonio was definitely the better team.
I just think that bench, I think if you went based off of full rosters, I would lean San Antonio. But you know what? With Wade, with Bosh, with LeBron. Yeah.
15, you had Golden State beating Cleveland. If Love and Kyrie did not get hurt, I believe Cleveland would have won that series. So I'm picking Cleveland was the better team that year, except they had bad timing with their injuries. 16, obviously Golden State was better than any best team, top 5 team of all time, if not top three. Should have won that series. 17, definitely Golden State. 18, definitely Golden State by a hair because Houston had them on the ropes, but you have to lean towards the winner at that point. 19, I still pick Golden State. But again, bad timing with the injuries. 2020, no doubt that the best team that year were the Lakers. 2021 should have been Phoenix's year. 2022, Golden State again. Although, actually, if you really look back on it, Phoenix had the 1 seed that year. They should have probably went out, but I don't know. I still pick Golden State in that deal. 2023, Denver for sure. 2024, Boston. So most of the time you get the best team winning it all, and then you have maybe a handful every 20 years where there's teams that probably should have won.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is a snack pack. Truly appreciate you joining us. It's Joe Soro. Along with me, Gerald Glassford. Don't forget tomorrow, it is playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break for the Lakers and the Celtics, who just did defeat the Clippers. The Clippers fall into a virtual tie with the Los Angeles Lakers for 5th/6th in the Western Conference, providing some hope for Robert there. But again, we play the Celtics tomorrow, and we'll go ahead and bring it for you on playback. And then, of course, the post game right here. Robert said, wow, that's great analysis, Joe. So hey, appreciate there you go, Joe. Robert providing the great question for you, and you delivering on a great answer for you. But again,
well, it's important to know your stuff, and that's usually the barometer is when you get a random question. Do you know your stuff? That's the ultimate in understanding who you're talking to. When you can ask a question that you weren't prepared for, yet you can analyze it clearly, you're gonna have a little bit more credibility as an analyst or in terms of discussing a particular subject. These are the things that puts us in a good position versus someone who just sits there and talks box score. So I call it talking box score. It's kind of my little throw in to those who don't know shit about anything.
All right. With that, though, it's a reason why Joe and I, and one of the many reasons why we don't think the Lakers have a chance to go ahead and find the kind of success we all and Robert are looking for this season is because the Lakers just don't have a quality roster at this point in time to get what is needed to be done to go through 3 Western Conference playoff rounds, even a play-in game as well, or 2, and then go all the way through a NBA Finals against a Cleveland or a Boston, or maybe on some whim, New York or what have you. But I just don't think that the Lakers have a roster that is conducive to that type of trek. We've seen in the past seasons, it's gone from a very delightful Western Conference run that ended up on a unfortunately bad note against Denver to once again facing Denver, this time in the first round and meeting no success after that. This team hasn't gotten any better, in my opinion, since then. And with that, even though Vanderbilt is coming back, providing hopefully some help on the defensive end for one of the worst defenses in the NBA, I think the Lakers do need more. So where do the Lakers turn to? We said on today's show, before we get into Kobe's 81 and before we talk about anything else, we would talk trades. You guys wanted us to talk trades. The trade rumors are out there. I know the one that's being chatted most about are Lonzo and Kuzma. Kuzma, did you see Kuzma the other day? He just does not look like a guy that's, that cares. He's going through the motions. He's making a nice fat salary, and he's just gliding through life right now at this point in time. As my daughter told me the other day, I guess he's dating a model of some rebuke. So they're good for him. But when it comes to Lonzo Ball, for a backup point guard, you already got a backup point guard that's very expensive at Gabe Vincent. Getting Lonzo Ball really doesn't help your cause as well, Joe.
Kuzma looks like he's more concerned about models and tattoos at this point. Unfortunately, his shooting's gotten worse since he's been in Washington, and that's a place where he's got no pressure and can get the ball on a regular basis. I wouldn't mind bringing him back for nothing. Something like a second-round pick, sure. But guess what? The NBA doesn't allow you to do that. You got to match contracts. And I guess maybe if we could throw some of our trash to Washington and get Valanciunas and him If it means getting rid of trash without getting rid of first round picks, yeah, absolutely, I'd take him back. Better than nothing. At least he could play a little defense. Maybe he has some length. Maybe make a shot every now and then. It's not ideal, but it would be better than what they have now if they were able to make that work. The Lakers trade scenarios right now, from what I'm seeing, you've heard information about Lonzo and a package of Vucevic maybe. I don't know why Chicago is going to trade Vucevic or Levine or any of these guys. They're actually playing pretty well. I don't know why those rumors keep floating.
Just like the one with Gafford, and after the news of Derek
And why the hell
Lively,
would Dallas trade Gafford?
yeah, they just lost
Uh,
Derek Lively.
no, Lively's out for 3 months. There's no way they're trading Gafford now. And Dallas right now needs to make sure that they keep a competitive team here, because I gotta find out here, and maybe you know this, Gerald. So because he's been out all year, almost all year, Luka,
Yeah,
he's now not going to be eligible to be on an
no,
all NBA team.
that is correct.
Do you have to be on an all NBA team the last year of a contract that you have an option to decline?
I do
Or
know
does it?
that I do. Well, I think it's that he became an All NBA player. Period. I
Oh,
think that
so
was the
so that's all you need to do, is you just need to be an
and
all NBA player to qualify for the Supermax.
yeah, I believe that is correct. Yeah, I do not
Okay.
think it's just the last year. I think it is because he did become an All NBA player at one point in time in his current contract.
Okay,
During
so
you
it's
know
got
he
to. It's
play,
just the current contract.
yeah,
As long as you become an All NBA player, you're as soon as the extension for the Supermax comes onto the table.
provided he's still on the same team, and because
Right.
if he was
Right.
traded tomorrow, he wouldn't be eligible. I don't think for the supermax just because he was traded to another team. The idea behind the supermax is to have your team retain those star players.
It's going to be an interesting decision by Luca. Does Luca value being the next Lakers star, whom he could go to in 2026 if he declines his contract, or does he value the Supermax in Dallas? That's going to be
He
an
would
interesting question.
because what was Tatum's salary? It tops out at 70 something million
Hmm.
dollars, I think.
Yeah.
He'll start at 70 something million dollars when he gets offered a new contract by Dallas. Just to put that in perspective.
So Tatum is making. Well, Tatum is going to make. I think the last year of his contract is going to make about 67 million. Jalen is going to make about almost 65 million. That's
Okay.
what those that's what those contracts are going to be. And as far as Luca's mindset is really something that we haven't really been able to get a gauge on. Would he buck the trend? Would he say, I'd rather go to LA and be the star in LA? My brand becomes bigger in LA and Slovenia maybe than Dallas. Would that be true? That would be something to that would be an interesting. It would be interesting. Well, if he declines his contract, then I think that probably disqualifies him for the Supermax, right? He'd have to take it while he's.
Yeah, because he
Yeah,
can't be traded to another team and get a super. He can only get a super max from the
yeah,
Dallas
yeah.
Mavericks.
So that's kind of that's going to be an interesting storyline next year. If he doesn't take the extension, that's a lot of money he leaves on the table to go play
Mhm.
somewhere else. Because right now, if you're looking for hope, notice I'm not talking about this trade deadline. I don't think there's anything that's going to come the Lakers' way for them to make a difference, honestly, unless there is seriously a miracle, like a lottery ticket winning thing. I just don't see that happening, unfortunately. But because now you're looking at if there is some momentum going where Luke is not going to take that, he's gonna decline that contract. Now you're looking at the positiveness, and let's say LeBron stays another year and then retires in 2026. Now you have Luka available in 2026 to woo him to come to LA. The only thing I'm worried about is are you still gonna have Rob Pelinka there? Because if Rob Pelinka's there, I probably wouldn't go to the Lakers.
By the way, I
So
really am beginning to think. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Does Genie fire Rob Pelinka and get a real GM or player personnel guy? There's a lot of questions there.
That's the thing, Joe. For wherever we talk about rebuilding, trading AD, or LeBron retiring, or building after him, or all the stuff we talk about, it's still Rob Pelinka that sits up in the seat. And however we think that rebuilding this team is probably the best course of action, if you were to look at it without any type of bias whatsoever, the problem is who is going to be doing the rebuilding. And again, we have seen very poor talent evaluation at times from Rob Pelinka. I mean, just the players alone that he could have retained but didn't would have filled out this rotation so much better. And they would be in a much better position, Joe, had they retained some of those players, the Zubatses, the Carusos. You know what? I was wrong on Pippen Jr., but he has become one of the best backup point guards in the league. Jay Huff, who again, he signed a 4-year deal with Memphis. There are players that the Lakers could have retained that could have just increased the depth of this team overall to where I would feel a lot stronger about the Lakers right now. But if a rebuild were to happen, if he's still the one rebuilding it, I don't share that same confidence.
No, he's terrible. And I would not want to be a part of a team that has their owner more focused on ticket sales and TV shows on Netflix. But who in the NBA is focused on winning other than maybe Boston and Oklahoma City? Who's really focused on winning?
Cleveland right now, although they didn't win tonight.
Cleveland is, of course, because they have the talent that it's easy to care about winning when you have the talent. But who really cares? That's probably where you want to focus on. But you're talking about a player that's going to risk a lot of money to go play for a couple of buttheads in LA. The only way I would feel comfortable is if you hire a GM that's respectable and understand and has a focus on building a championship team. Rob Pelinka is not that guy. He's a puppet.
No. So that's why again I'm worried.
He's not even a real puppet. He's a sock puppet.
Well, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, Joe. Okay, we keep as is, and it's Sharon, as Robert, as others, and you have only within their minds that you have a sliver of a chance. You have a chance because you're playing at a level that's competitive to a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th seed, 9th seed in the Western Conference. That if certain things happen, if certain breaks happen, can go their way, even though to people like you and I, we realistically know that there's no way you can go through 4 rounds of an NBA playoff and have absolutely break everything your way if you're that undermanned and under talented compared to these other teams. And if you get rid of these guys, if LeBron says bye, if AD says bye, if you get rid of AD, trade him away for a myriad of assets, you don't even know if Rob is competent enough to go ahead and be able to pull that kind of trade off. He pulled off the AD trade, but if you remember, Joe, I forget how he messed up somehow, but he ended up having to go ahead and give New Orleans an extra pick because he messed up on that deal originally.
Yeah, I remember that. We were so excited about AD coming, we didn't care. But it was a precursor to what eventually came, which was idiocy at its highest form and incapability of doing the job. I'm drawn at straws here. I don't know. There's no excitement in the future. Sometimes you see some excitement at the end of the tunnel, even though you have to suffer a little bit. But I don't know I don't know what to be excited about at this point with this team. I really don't. It's very hard to be excited about anything because they're just a mediocre operation. The operation's mediocre. They live off the past, which I hate more than anything. When you live in the past, you're a lazy-minded person to me. I prefer to talk about now. Yes, it's nice to talk about certain things in the past and reminisce, but that's a short amount of time. There's a great line in an episode of The Sopranos where remember when Tony's at a table and a couple of his wise guys are talking about about stories from in the past. A lot of it was very gregarious, and he's just like, "Why you guys keep talking about this stuff? This isn't stuff you're supposed to be talking loud about." And he's getting irritated sitting at the table, and his last words before he gets up and leaves is, "Well, remember when is the lowest form of conversation." And I believe that remember when is the lowest form of analyzing what you are now. Just like those guys I told you about, those NBA guys, right? Because these guys are supposed to be guys that live the life, right? They're supposed to know more than us. Okay, you know more than us. Why aren't you executing it? Why are you telling me that so and so is a great player because he won something 5 years ago? What the hell does that have to do with now? So I'm not going to buy this, oh, well, you don't know anything because we've done it. No, you've done it, but you're wrong. What are the Lakers going to do right now that's going to better the team? As of right now, this year, it's highly unlikely they're going to be able to get a player or players that's going to take them over the top. Why? Because in order for them to do that, they have to get in the top four. They have to, in some way, get some home court advantage at some point, and maybe luck out and get home court in the second round if there's an upset, which could happen too. The Celtics had home court throughout the playoffs last year, and they benefited from every series having someone being injured in the East, the main guy. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get lucky in terms of the competition not being able to play at full tilt. The Lakers are not going to have that luxury because there's too much talent in the West, and I don't think things like that happen in the West ever anyways. East, sure. I've seen the East run through. You saw Miami go through a couple runs there going to the finals when they probably shouldn't have. So it's a frustrating discussion because we're trying to be positive. We're trying to be trying to give our audience a window of hope, but there is no hope because of who's in charge and how they've conducted themselves and how they conduct this thing, and then everything around them is just as bad because no one seems to cross the Lakers other than maybe Charles Barkley. Anyone who crosses the Lakers all of a sudden doesn't have a media pass, and you don't really hear about it. Have you noticed that? Even the LA Times don't criticize the Lakers, at least not publicly and loud. Maybe in some page 6 thing on LA Times. I don't get the LA Times, so I don't know. But you tell me, I have never seen this much quiet media around the Lakers when they sucked.
Because, in the past, the LA Times have ripped the Lakers.
They ripped the Lakers when they were good.
Yeah.
J.A. Adonde hated Kobe. Hated him. We never found out why.
Bill Plaschke.
T.J. Simers used to talk a lot of smack, but that was kind of a shtick. He was kind of a low-end Skip Bayless at that time, right? And then who was the other one? Oh, Plaschke. His crater ass. He's kind of an obnoxious T.J. more of that was his shtick too in a little way, in a way too.
You have fed into Robert Wheeler's delirium. He said, get the 4 seed, get home court, beat the Clippers in the first round, take OKC in the second round, then boom, right to the conference finals. Then it's anyone's series. By the way, SGA did get 54 today. So he does have an about 50-point game as of now. But one of the things that he did mention, Joe, I want to hear as far as the trade is concerned. And once again, it is the Lakers fast break. It is a snack pack coming right there for you. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. But one of the things that Robert did mention is earlier he asked me a question or asked us a question. Gerald, Joe, I saw this as a potential option. I mean, this is not new, Robert. We've been talking about this for weeks. But if you are Lakers GM, would you trade the 2 first-round picks with Rui and Hayes for Sexton and Kessler from Utah? Danny Ainge is going to want those unprotected. Does that make the Lakers title contenders? Even if you add Bryce Sensabaugh, and I added Bryce Sensabaugh when I was talking about this trade 2 weeks ago, because you add Sensabaugh because it makes the money work, and he's been really doing good off the bench for Utah. It still does not make the Lakers title contenders. When you go and get guys from bad teams, you should ask yourself, why are they playing on a bad team? And you're getting 3 players from a team that is headed for the lottery. And you think it's going to make you so much better that it's going to make you a title contender. So your thoughts, Joe, would this make a title contender? Would you trade your only two available firsts that you can bundle for them?
By the way, tonight, the Celtics shot 50 3-pointers.
That's an average day at the job for them.
50. They mean 19. So that means if they shoot 50 against the Lakers, they'll make 39 of them. Anyways, Robert, you cannot give away the future for a guy named Kessler and Sexton. Those guys are not future draft pick guys. You don't want to turn into the Cleveland Cavaliers of the late 80s when the Lakers won a championship in 1982. Then they get the first overall pick and get James Worthy. You don't want to be that team. You don't want to be the Cleveland Cavaliers at that time. Yes, folks, that's exactly what happened. Imagine that. Imagine that, guys. I don't think that's ever happened. Celtics got close with Len Bias. They got the second pick, right, in 86. So check this out, guys. I'm not going to go into the details because it's not important. But the bottom line was the Lakers win the championship in 1982. And because of a trade earlier with the Cleveland Cavaliers that ended up turning into, they were the worst team that year. The Lakers ended up having that pick, and they ended up getting the first pick. Imagine you win the championship in June. I think at that time it was late May, though, right? It was late May. And then a month later, you got the first overall pick. And you're in this conundrum. Do we get James Worthy or Dominique Wilkins? That's funny. That's too funny.
Robert has an answer for you on that. Wait, Joe, I thought you were looking for another scorer on the Lakers.
We are, but I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks for them unless their name is Giannis. Who else? Maybe Luka. Yeah. You have to have that guy playing when you are picking those draft picks. But what is that, 6 years from now? 4 to 6 years from now?
Yes.
29 and 31. Yeah, you have to. The player you get has to be an impact player, and he has to be able to be available at that time. Otherwise, that trade becomes a horrible trade, beyond horrible.
I just think, again, you're getting guys that are playing okay to good for a bad team. It just, when you take that level up and that next level up, quite often they don't play at that same level for the new, better team that they're on. And if you get guys with DFS, even if he becomes a starter, which most likely he'll probably get a taste of starter, probably in the not too distant future. Again, he's a 10-point a game player he was on Brooklyn. You can't expect a whole lot more than that for him if that's the case. And of course, his defense is something that's obviously we're looking at when it comes to starting DFS if that's the case. But when you get guys like Kessler and also as well, let's say Sensabaugh and let's say Sexton. I mean, Sexton was discarded by Cleveland, and then obviously he blew out the ACL. He's come back. He's become an adequate player, getting about 15 to 17 for a bad Utah team. These guys, you just you're like Laker Tom in that sense. We're here to provide realism for you, and in doing so, it's just hard to go ahead and when you try to put the purple and the gold shaders on, you try to make things eh, bigger than they are. Like when Laker Tom was calling Koloko the next great Lakers center, calling JJ the next great Laker coach. He hasn't done a thing yet to prove that. Let JJ get the wins and the years under his belt before you call him that. But it's like Joe again. The sometimes we just our fanaticism, our it just takes away from the reality of what is and what can be.
So let's look at this. Let's look at the current standings. Let's say the Lakers stay at 6 and everybody stays the same. Let's just use that as an example.
Hmm.
The Lakers would play Memphis in the first round, right?
Hmm.
Let's say they upset Memphis again in the first round.
Hmm.
And then you have Oklahoma City, I think, would beat Minnesota in the first round. And then Houston would beat Sacramento in the first round. And then you also have Denver and the Clippers would play each other in the first round because they'd be the 4 and 5. So let's say the Denver Nuggets win that. So now you've replaced Memphis in that field. So the Lakers end up playing the Houston Rockets in the second round, and then Oklahoma City Thunder end up playing Denver. So you'd have to beat Memphis in the first round. And then if Houston beats Sacramento, which I think they would, now you're playing a young Houston team. There could be a chance to get there. The problem is now is how are you going to beat Oklahoma City or Denver in the Western Conference Finals? And for those of you who lately, and you can always tell of the new Laker fans and the jackasses, and a lot of them I do like though, but you're a jackass. The ones that have been hanging their hats on, well, we made it to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. That's how you know they're new Laker fans. That's just absolutely unacceptable. I don't give a shit if they go to the Western Conference Finals. You're not paying two guys $110 million to go to the Western Conference Finals. You're going to pay those guys that money to win a championship or at least get close to winning one at the very least. So now what? Are you going to get past Oklahoma City or Denver in that series in the Western Conference Finals? What if you face Cleveland in the finals? Those guys have been murdering the Lakers this year. Do the Lakers go a notch up? Did they make a trade that made sense? A lot of questions. A lot of ifs. This is the year of the ifs. This is the year of the ifs.
I mean,
And
OKC.
right now, their pace from this last game, their pace is one win less than they had last year.
OKC, I think, is just a bad matchup for us, Joe, because they now have two big bodies. Once they get everybody healthy, and let's say they go into the playoffs healthy, just assuming they go into the playoffs healthy, they've got two big bodies they can throw at AD, and they've got what 5 defenders they can throw at LeBron. And we're not talking just average defenders. They've got 4 to 5 really good to high level defenders in the NBA on that team. Not even counting SGA as a defender
Yeah,
on that.
the Lakers would need to have a third guy on that team to have any chance of beating Denver or OKC, and that's just a 1% chance of happening with their assets. Somebody would have to get hurt on Denver, Jokic, and someone would have to get hurt on Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. then maybe a window opens.
Robert, let's be honest. OKC is not too young to beat the Lakers at this point. Let's be honest. They are now equipped and ready to beat the Lakers at this point. If you're basing it off of the fact that they're a young team, they went and they played and they matched up against a team in Dallas very well. You saw how that series went down. That was their learning period, Robert. And everybody has their learning period. We've seen all these great teams go through it. That period was last year. Let's be honest, Robert. They are a team that's ready to win right now. And if you don't think that, fine. If you could holding on to the youth thing, fine. Go ahead, keep thinking that. But look at that roster. They now have veterans in there, and Hartenstein and Caruso anchoring that defense and rebounding. Something the Lakers are terrible at. They're one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in the NBA. The Lakers are. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. If they don't fix and shore up these problems that Joe and I keep discussing ad nauseum every single game by the trade deadline, you're asking the Lakers to go into a playoff series where defense and rebounding become even more prominent. Because in the playoffs, Joe, you talk about the regular season, you say defense doesn't matter. I know your famous words there and all that. But in the defense, in the playoffs, excuse me, defense and rebounding really gets turned up a notch and becomes more and more important there.
Plus, the Lakers are athletically deficient in most areas. The only uh, who's the athletic freak on the Lakers?
It's funny, it would have been Cam Reddish 5 years ago, but that's obviously not the case, is it?
Yeah,
Now it's a 40-year-old LeBron.
I'd say LeBron probably the most, maybe AD a little bit when he does his alley oops, but they're not equipped athletically to make up ground. We've talked about that, to combat what Oklahoma City can throw at them. Let's say. And if you think Oklahoma City is too young to win, all you got to do is go back to 2012 and see how young that team was, and they beat the Lakers as well. And they made Pau Gasol and Kobe look foolish in that series. I put the blame on Kobe and Gasol in that series. Mike Brown actually coached. Mike Brown, Snyder, and that pretty good assistant coach setup there actually coached a hell of a series. But Kobe and Pau Gasol made crucial mistakes at the end of those games and ended up costing the Lakers a chance at winning that series. And a lot of that too is when you're a younger team, you have better legs, better stamina. Kobe was pretty much now getting to that point where he was going down. He had a little bit of resurgence a year later, but he popped the tire because it was too much. He needed to scale back. But we all know that Kobe's career was going to end badly because that's just who he was. At least I discussed it for years. Everyone talked about whatever. I said if the Lakers don't have a really good setup, i.e., Chris Paul doing it, they coming to the team and really, really taking over the ball handling job, and he and Chris were tight too. They would have really worked out well. You're going to see him blow a tire. You're going to see him. I didn't say blow a tire at the time. I said you're going to see him hit the wall, and he did.
Chris says he before
Denver.
I get to this question yeah, well, you're gonna pick Denver. You have all season. I would pick OKC and Denver right behind. It would be mine. 1-2 right there. I would feel confident on either one. I will say right now, what was it? I think was Chris's question. Oh, if I'm the Lakers, I'm willing to at least come away with Valanciunas and Brogdon. Both have been mentioned, but if the Lakers don't have that many second round picks left after the D'Lo trade, so I don't know if they could get both those guys. But Valanciunas is in his mid-30s, still rebounds well, but you saw him the other night, older, slower, and still on the hook for 2 more years after this one. And Brogdon, he might get injured reading the comments on this YouTube channel, Joe.
Yeah, Brogdon's not your solution. There's no solution to a title run unless it's a third star, a legitimate third star. If you got LaMelo Ball, you have a chance now because now you have that scorer that you needed. But I don't see Charlotte trading him.
Well, I don't see Charlotte trading Nick Richards either, and they traded him, and I thought that was a very stupid trade on their part. But okay, whatever. I mean, how you let the only position you have depth in on your entire team, and you get rid of it, and a cheap player too for $5 million for
Well,
next season.
I would love for them to take our trash and a couple first round picks, but
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
going to be a
that's
better
the first thing I would call.
but
They're not
there's going to be a
stupid,
better deal if they're truly wanting to trade LaMelo Ball. Plus, it would need to be something I think LaMelo Ball needs to make. Not maybe too public, but maybe in the back office. Hey guys, can you please trade me? I want to go play for a contender.
But the one thing you guys talk about when you talk about Denver, you guys are stringing your hopes on Westbrook taking 20 or 30 shots. If he does not, remember, you guys, when it comes to Westbrook, if he does not produce, Malone will just not play him. He's not a starter for that team. He's starting right now because Gordon's coming back, but in the playoffs, he doesn't have to be a starter for that team. He's a backup bench guy who they'll just play Murray 40 minutes. They'll just play Jokic 40 minutes and see how that worked out the past few seasons for them. I mean, if your hopes are on Westbrook playing a lot of time for Denver, if he's not producing well for them,
Guys, we're
Malone will
not
just
going to
put them down.
see where what it doesn't matter, man. If the Lakers are not fundamentally sound and focused and winning, that and even if they are they mentally gonna be handicapped because they're playing Denver again? Probably. This is a very mentally weak team from top to bottom. The owner is a mental midget. The GM is a mental midget in terms of basketball operations. I'm not talking about them personally, although I'm not really a big fan of them personally either. But and then LeBron is a quitter. I've seen LeBron quit for years when it mattered. Go back to the Dallas series in 11, quit. Go back in 2014 against that San Antonio team in game 2, quit. Oh, wait, Joe, his hamstring hurt. When have you ever heard a star like LeBron get hurt in the finals? Unless it was a blowout, like Magic blowing out his hamstring or Kareem turning his ankle where his ankle literally looked like a cantaloupe. A pulled hamstring? Come on. Pulled hamstring? LeBron, I thought he was bionic.
Before we get to Kobe's 81-point game, JY said on the subject of LeBron, does LeBron go to 8 straight finals if he were to play on the West instead of the East like he did throughout his career?
No, not a chance. Not a chance. Okay. And I'm sorry, folks, I don't give a shit about finals appearances.
If we were mentally weak, could a guy like Isaiah Stewart help against Denver?
No.
I know he's not LeBron's favorite person.
Isaiah Stewart is a nutcase type, not a focused, angry guy. Stu Lance always brought this up in a lot of telecasts. There's very, very few people that can play angry. LeBron is one of them. Not a lot, but he can get very good when he's angry a little bit.
Sometimes it works out, Joe, because when he doesn't get a call or gets found, he gets pissed off, and he'll play both sides. He'll play both sides.
Correct. Yeah. When you're that great, when he's on, he's on. He can do some things. He is great. Kobe, Jordan, Shaq. Jesus, when Shaq was pissed off, geez.
Yeah, watch out.
You are done. Shaq did not. You might think Shaq bullied. Like Shaq got a lot of calls, especially on the road in playoff games. Got the early 2 fouls just because the crowd created it. He wasn't playing any different than he was when he was playing at home, but because he was so powerful and so difficult to call on, when he was on the road, the refs kind of got suckered into the atmosphere a little too much, and then of course the Lakers had to deal with what they had to deal with when he was sitting down half the quarter, and then he'd kind of ease up and usually come out in the end victorious. But yeah, the Lakers, they're pumpkins, guys. They're not. That's just what they are. They're soft. They're real soft.
And they've got the stats to prove it, especially on the defensive end and rebounding, which again in the playoffs is paramount. If you're not a good rebounding team and if you're not a good defensive team, it is a lot harder to advance in the playoffs. And that's something hopefully Rob Pelinka will address before the trade deadline to give guys like us, Robert, Sharon, everyone out there a bigger chance of doing it. FJ09, welcome. Haven't seen you before. Truly appreciate you being here. Jacopoto, who I'm really high on, and Davian Mitchell for Rui, Gabe, and JHS works money wise. Yes, it does. Upgrades all
Masai's
of our
not doing
weakness.
that deal.
Yeah, well, he'll do it with the first.
Yeah, no, yeah, you can't do that. Masai will want 3 firsts. He's so delusion. You actually, I think Danny H gets a bad rap for being the most greedy GM. Masai is worse than Danny Ainge in my book.
I think that was a smart trade by him the other day because those 3 picks that he gave Phoenix, they're not the greatest in the world. They're the lowest of whatever Cleveland or Utah will be doing in each of those years. And Minnesota in that first one, most likely it will be the 29th or 30th pick next year's draft. And then the other 2 are going to be probably low end first round picks. So the return is the fact that I think he gets Minnesota's pick, if I'm not mistaken. He gets a good pick out of it as far as the 1 pick that he did get in return. So it's like trading 3 picks to a pick that might end up being a lot better. So I got to give him some credit there. But Masai is going to probably ask, well, the Lakers only give him 2. So even if they offer 2, those 2 guys you mentioned in Mitchell and Podol, they don't move the needle far enough. It's just like Sexton and Kessler, and they just don't move the needle far enough to make the Lakers competitive at a top level. I'll say it again: those guys just are complementary players. It does improve things a little bit, but it's only incremental at best. So that's something we're
And
trying to
those trade machines are hard to depend on because there's so many other things that factor into these trades now with the new collective bargaining agreement. I don't know if they have it really advanced to draft picks and how those factor in. It's just player salary, which isn't. I can't remember the last time a player was traded for a player. It's usually always involving some kind of draft pick. I'm sure there's been one, but I haven't seen one that's been major yet.
So Alan, OIST and Alan, yeah, absolutely. I responded to your email, so definitely looking forward to getting you back on the show. And it was great to having you on playback last night. He says, so who have you guys thought that we could possibly get with our assets? Well, I had people laughing at me that started the season when I said LaMelo Ball because he's still young. Yeah, he plays terrible defense, but he's 6'8" and athletic, and he's a great passer, and he loves to shoot. That's who I thought that the Lakers could get that was attainable at that time. Now I don't know what the the price tag would be as far as to get him, as far as the number of draft choices and all that. Joe, is there a certain player that you were eyeing? I know that you picked up on the LaMelo train with me on that one, but is there another player that you had in mind that you think the Lakers could get? I know that for a fact, guys, trading D'Lo away makes it a lot harder to get any player at that level who can significantly help this team. That 18 million expiring is something that we may root to regret just to get a lateral trade like we did with DFS.
Zion.
There you go. Rough Artist said himself. Agreed. High risk, high reward.
Zion would be the one that I would risk, but there would have to be a really, really, really like heart to heart with him first, because
Uh,
that's a trade that won't need major assets. New Orleans will at some point want to cut ties with it. I don't know if he's eating himself out of there. I don't know if, but that tends to be kind of a character thing too. If he's that willing to do that, is it good to have somebody like that on the team? Does he really care about winning? Does he really care about having a good career?
mhm.
Or is he like another Ben Simmons, but maybe not as obnoxious? And that's a terrible person to have on your team too, when you have schlep rocks working up in the front office. Too many schleppers on this team, man. Bringing another one probably not going to help. But the reason why I mentioned him is because you're buying low, and you can't at this point. The beggars can't be choosers. Maybe by some miracle he'll change. Right? It's the best shot you can hope for. Maybe he changes. Maybe he does what he needs to do to say, you know what, I'm going to help this team try to win a championship. I'll lose 30 pounds in the next 2 months before we get to April. I don't know.
Good
I'm
point.
throwing up. I'm throwing stuff in the air here at this point. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to. It's really, really tough. I'm going to feel much better. Honestly, I'm going to feel much better in 2 weeks once this is done. Because once the deadline is done, everything is set. Now we can really focus on just paying attention to the game instead of what could happen, what won't happen, what's likely to happen. That will all be gone. We could just analyze the games and really, really delve into what this team really is going to be and how they're going to perform
Uh,
without any changes.
Highly unlikely, Alan, that if Phoenix breaks it up, that 2 first-round draft picks are going to get Booker, maybe even Durant. I think Durant may, because of his contract status, may be able to go for 2 first, but I don't know. That would still be a tough ask. Is it possible for the Lakers to get in the future Butler trade? Why would you want to get involved in the future Butler trade? I mean, just getting to the 50 million is going to be very difficult for the Lakers, Ali. And remember, he has another option if he doesn't get a contract extension he likes or see out there in the free agent market that people are willing to pay him what he wants. He has the option to pick up another year at 50 million. So you would be trading an older player. Well, I mean, let's say LeBron retires and you still got Butler on the team. That's like trading one older player at 50 million for another older player at 50 million. So I don't know if that's really would be the smart thing to do at this point in time. But 805 Fillmore said that again on the super chat. Truly appreciate you doing so. How the Hawks Lakers have been if Dominique Wilkins would have went number 1 to LA?
That's a great question.
Great question. They would have been spectacular. I would tell you that.
There
With
would have been a lot
him on the
more.
break.
There would have been a lot more highlight reels. But the problem is Dominique Wilkins was not. God, how do I say this without being insulting? I don't want to be insulting. Okay, here. James Worthy had a higher basketball IQ than Dominique Wilkins. Dominique Wilkins was limited when it mattered. If he couldn't be in the air, which good teams would have grounded him, which they did. If the Lakers don't draft James Worthy, they don't. I don't think they win. No, they do not win the 1988 NBA championship.
Okay.
And for me, there's no replacement for that. There's no player at that time that you would have convinced me because there was apparently a close trade where Mark Aguirre was going to be traded for James Worthy. Something like that. And last second, it was denied because I think Jerry West ended up pulling kind of like the Klay Thompson thing with Kevin Love when he was advising the Warriors. James Worthy is the reason why the Lakers went back to back in 1988. If they didn't have James Worthy in 1988, the Lakers would not have won the championship in '88. I'm pretty positive of that. I feel very good about it. And whomever they would have gotten in that draft, I don't think would have made a difference. Mark McGuire, I don't believe would have made a difference in '88. As good as he was, James just had a different gear that year. He really took it upon himself to play like James Worthy was the number one option, and he ended up making it happen. And yeah, I think the highlight reels would have been better with Dominique, but the Lakers would probably have less championships with him in that decade.
I think Wilkins is a great player. I think he's an absolutely outstanding player. I'm a huge Neek fan, so I respectfully say they would be. I don't think anything would change the number of wins or championships. I really think that would be about exactly what, provided health, of course, the same type of health that Dominique would have as Worthy had. I would say it'd be a similar account, but I could see what Worthy accentuated that offense in certain ways that Neek wouldn't, and then vice versa. So I just think that again, Dominique is such a special player himself, along with James Worthy, that I think that yeah, it's. I don't see that the outcome would be changing very much at all on that one. But before we get to Kobe
No,
and okay.
Yeah, that's
JY says Worthy was coached by Dean Smith. That's his only advantage over Dominique. Well, remember the best defense against Jordan was Dean Smith himself. So, well, Dameless, it's my opinion, and I saw Dominique all those years, Dameless. So I could just say, for a matter of fact, what I think, and in my opinion, that it's your opinion says Soro's right. I say Soro is respectfully wrong, and I'll just leave it at that. So, but again, both are great players, both are Hall of Famers, and again, I saw Dominique through that era. I don't know how old you are, Thameless, if you saw him through that era or not, but I could just tell you through what I saw with my eyes tells me that Dominique is more than just a highlight reel. He was an absolutely tremendous player. So I'll leave it at that. No, then there you go. So again, it's a matter of opinion. I think both are outstanding players, and I think again the Lakers would have been benefited from having either one on the team. So I'll leave it at that. But we will go ahead and run off a few more comments because Robert's asking if the Lakers make it to fourth, would that change your mind, Joe? As far as the Lakers having a sliver of a chance.
Yeah.
For me,
they'd
no.
have a chance if they get the 4.
I don't.
They'd have a chance.
Okay.
They would have to win probably 50 games to get to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. Right now, they're projected for 44 to 45 wins.
Am I out?
So we'll just leave it at that. Your router is ping ponging again, but you've got 4 bars right now. So
let me get back.
You said
and
again
we'll talk
that
about
the
Kobe.
Lakers would have to get to about 50 wins. Okay. All right. So Joe's going to go ahead and reset his modem. And while he does, again, it's the Lakers fast break. Lakers are on right now. Joe, let me know, signal to me when you're ready to come back in. He's going to go ahead and take a look and see what's going on with that. But before we head out, I just want to go ahead and say thank you again for all the great questions and comments right there for you. Alan says, actually, stat-wise, Lakers are -8 with LBJ in the lineup. I know that's been something we've been seeing, which is actually the opposite of many years with LeBron James. LeBron James in the lineup has been a positive, but this year it is -8 with LBJ in the lineup and 6.5 on the plus side or something when he is off. LBJ in the positive, in the plus or minus, they are 19 wins, but when he is on the minus, they lose every game. Thameless says Wilkins beat Jordan in that dunk contest in Chicago. It hurt me, but still worthy. Again, Thameless, they're both great players. I don't know why we would be arguing about it. They're both outstanding players, Hall of Famers. I do like your comment that was made that what if on the other side, Worthy had gone to Atlanta? How would have Atlanta fared over the course of his career in Atlanta. That's something on a true test. If Atlanta would have been substantially better, then we know who the better player was, and then you guys were right on that. So if only we could do a what if, like Marvel's what if, on that as far as and see what kind of outcome it would have been if James Worthy had ended up on the Hawks to figure that one out. So a Lakers fan 24 says the Lakers will be 42-40. So we'll see about that. Again, they're targeted right now to be about 45 wins, 44, 45 wins. So Robert, again, if they are in fourth place, obviously that increases the conversation. I still think that is again with the Lakers really hard to do. That's going to be what the Clippers were fourth last year at 51 wins. So if they're above 50 or wins or more, who knows? Who knows? I'll give it to you on a who knows. How about that? I still don't think they would win, but who knows what could happen if the Lakers end up in fourth place, especially if there are injuries. Injuries could happen for other teams and things could slide their way, but that's a lot of ifs happening for right there. Chris says, do we think that the Clippers-Celtics game go to overtime will benefit the Lakers tomorrow? What do we expect? I know that there were early in the chat, we talked about this, Chris. The Celtics did have Al Horford, Porzingis, and Drew Holiday out of the lineup. But I'm hoping that their two main players, and Brown and Tatum, will be very tired tomorrow and maybe gas out in the second half of the game between the Lakers and the Celtics. So maybe that would provide some good fortune, but we'll wait and see who they play and who they start against the Lakers tomorrow as the Lakers and Celtics match up in the crypt, and we'll have it for you. Playback.tv's House Lakers Fast Break. Gustavo says, Gerald, do you have a lot of movie memorabilia and could you mention some? I don't have a lot of movie memorabilia with my time in special effects, Gustavo. Most stuff we got, you didn't get anything from actual movie sets. We would just be sent footage of the shots that we made. Let's say, for instance, you had some angels flying around and they had wires on them. They would send us the footage and our company would go ahead and just basically remove the wires from it. For instance, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Eddie Murphy, there's a scene at a park, I think I remember from a Ferris wheel, something like that, where he's on or his stuntman is on a lot of wires, and our job was to remove all those wires. Something as simple as that. Sometimes it was like in the case of Double Dragon to create, monsters or create the fact Robert Patrick's character, evolve him into something else, things like that. So Species, when I worked with Boss Film Studios, it was to create Nastasia Hendrich's, character into All Out, the Species that you saw. So I don't have anything from any sets because I didn't actually work on the sets there. We did stuff that's in post-production. And again, it wasn't for the main parts of the films. It's just stuff that they wanted the special effects at that time done for.
Yay! A subscriber!
FGO9, thank you. Again, new viewer, new subscriber. Truly appreciate you doing so. It is greatly appreciated. Truly appreciate it. Mission 24 says, yes, I did work on Angels in the Outfield. Just a couple shots, I believe, overall. M24, it wasn't much heavy lifting on that one for us. The movies I really did some heavy lifting. Again, I mentioned Double Dragon, Species, Outbreak. As far as if you remember that movie, Outbreak, which based on what we know now in the 2020s, obviously seemed very ominous time. Dustin Hoffman's movie. That movie we did a ton of work on, Species. But a lot of the films I worked on, we would work on only about 2, 3, 4 scenes and would be only working on the movie for like a couple of weeks or whatever they send to us. 2, 3, maybe sometimes up to 2 months. It wasn't, there were just a couple movies that I worked on that we actually were working on a whole ton of scenes for a extended period of time. But Joe is back right here for us. Started 7th Shoot. Good, Ali. Best show, best first season this decade. Absolutely. You'll like it. You'll like it a lot. But before we head on out, my friend, thank you, Rough Artist. Truly appreciate your comments there as well. Ali, again, started Severance. highly recommend it. If you want to go ahead and check out Apple TV Plus, the next episode drops on Friday, if I do remember. So looking forward to that. But before we head on out, Joe, today is the anniversary, while there's still half an hour left, of Kobe's momentous 81-point game, my friend. I actually, again, I was talking with my daughters about that period of time, and I was busy working jobs and whatnot, and I didn't have always the time to watch Laker games first run. I would always catch the replay, or whatever I could catch as far as get the highlights, or if I taped it, I did the old videotaping thing as far as it's concerned. But one game I did catch live was Bill McDonald sitting in the seat as a sub at that time for a game against the Toronto Raptors. Jalen Rose, watch out, Matt Bonner, and the Toronto Raptors. Joe, I think if you and I were playing those guys that day and saw the defense that they played or lack thereof, I think you and I would have scored 50 on them ourselves. But your thoughts on the tremendous game that put Kobe, it cemented Kobe's legacy in a lot of people's opinions. I'm sure for me and you, it was probably well beforehand, but the 81 points sticks out among all the great accomplishments in Kobe's career. Joe, you with us? And we just lost Joe on that. So he's calling it Dodgers fast pitch, Gustavo. He's calling it Dodgers fast pitch. That'll be the name of his channel when he gets that up and running. But yeah, he's having some issues here. Aeronatic, yeah. I remember it clearly again. I'm like, because I'm not a huge Bill McDonald's okay. He does a little bit of his voice, the high pitch, and makes every like 10-footer seem like it's the greatest shot on the universe sometimes. And I'm like, wish you would just tone it down a little bit. But Bill McDonald, again, sitting in for Joe Myers. I like Joe Myers a lot. Thought he was a pretty good play-by-play guy. In fact, he does it for New Orleans. But Joe, what are your fond memories of Kobe's, I guess, the legacy game in many people's eyes? I didn't say it's ours. I didn't say it's mine. I just said a lot of people, the general fans at large, they remember Kobe for the 81-point game.
What do I think about this?
We're 19 years, my friend. Next year's 20.
Well, I've told the story a few times. I'll tell it to the new people. This was the same day that it was Championship Sunday. Seattle beat Carolina to go to the Super Bowl, and the Steelers beat Denver in Denver to go to Detroit to honor Jerome Bettis's what eventually would be his last game in the NFL Hall of Fame career. I fell asleep halfway through the first and parts of the second quarter. I had drank heavily that day. I had never been so nervous for, I don't think, any week of a game for football than that week. I was nervous the entire week. Never been that nervous in my entire life than that week. And I couldn't eat anything that day. So I drank, I don't know how many bottles of Corona with my buddy. And my wife was there at the time, and before she was my wife, and just hanging out with friends and watching the AFC Championship game and just seeing it unfold. Couldn't eat anything, so I drank and I got heavily buzzed, drunk. And then, of course, when they won the game, I started eating, got an appetite, and still felt pretty inebriated. And then, of course, we ended up driving home, or my then girlfriend drove me home, fell asleep. And I never missed Laker games at that time too, by the way, especially home games. And I woke up in the middle of, after watching, I don't know how many highlights after the game, woke up and realized I had been missing the Laker game. And it was about a quarter and a half in almost. And at that time, Kobe was dropping 20-point quarters, 20-point, 24-point halves in his sleep. So the Lakers were losing that game. And Kobe ended up finishing with 26 points to finish the first half of that game. And they were down. They were down in that game. And then the second half starts and you start seeing something sort of unfold. You didn't really notice it probably the first 8 minutes of the game, but then you started noticing it a little bit towards the end of the third, and you're like, Kobe just scored 27 points in that quarter, and he did. So now he's sitting at, what is that, 53 points? So he's sitting at 53 points, and the Lakers are like sort of coming back, but they're still behind. So I'm like, dude, he's got 53 points, and I'd seen him score 56 against Memphis before, but they were leading going into the fourth. He didn't play the fourth. He had 62 against Dallas. They were up by God knows what, and he didn't play the fourth. So I had never seen him drop 50 like this in 3 quarters, 50 plus, and not be completely in control of the game. So I'm like, oh my God, this guy's gonna play the fourth quarter. I'm at that point, I'm like, this guy's gonna drop 70 for sure. And I think Elgin Baylor had the record of 71, the team record. I said, oh, he's gonna bust that. Dude, I knew right away. I was like, dude, this guy's gonna score probably the second most points of all time. I think, is it David Thompson had 73? 73? Okay.
73.
Yeah, so David Thompson had 73. I think that was the second most, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Luka has 73 now, but at the time, obviously, Luka hadn't been playing. So at that time, 73, I'm like, he's going to break David Thompson's record for sure. He's going to score 20 points in this quarter. And then, of course, he ended up eclipsing that and getting 80 and 81 at the free throw line. And the rest is history. They end up coming back, winning the game. And some say the Dallas run was the more impressive one. When I crunched the numbers, he actually would have had less points in that game had he played the fourth quarter than what he had done in the 81-point game. The reason why people say he would have done better in that game was because he had 62 in 3 quarters. So they would assume that he was going to score probably 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
Do you believe that? Based off the minutes he played?
Based off the minutes he played, you would think that, or at least foul him, but you saw they finally, they decided to double and triple team him. I'm just, Sam Mitchell just cracks me up when he talks about that game because, he decided to only give Kobe attention to it once they lost the lead. And also as well, he was getting closer and closer to that 81. And it was so funny because he talked about, then I put double and triple teams to try and get the ball out of Kobe's hands late in the game. And it was just like, you should have done that a lot sooner, Joe.
Yeah,
should have let Chris Mim try to outscore you guys.
Jalen Rose talked about that, and he had said how sometimes coaches, when they're stubborn and you don't listen to the coach, they'll sit you down and they won't let you play anymore. Coaches can be so bad with their egos and their, hey, I'm the boss, you listen to what I say. That's one of those moments where there was a way where they could have stopped Kobe, but Sam Mitchell was too stubborn to not just double team him at every moment and do whatever. But I wasn't there. I'm not going to believe anything. Maybe Kobe would have busted away from that anyways. But looking back on it, it was a special night in so many ways. You saw something that in a lot of ways was a larger feat for a player than even the 100-point game, because Kobe only played 42 minutes in that game, and he was a guard. Milt Wilt played all 48 minutes when he scored 100 points, and obviously the competition at that time was a little less aggressive, and he was near the basket almost on every possession. So we look back at that. I look back at that game, and I look at kind of the residual effect of what that game did. Kobe Bryant on Super Championship Sunday which is the most dominant Sunday you can have other than the Super Bowl, was not let off on SportsCenter. It was Kobe's regular season game in January that led SportsCenter. And Larry Beal was the anchor that night, I believe. I can't remember who the other person was. And he's like, folks,
Was it
we
Linda?
know I can't remember. I'd have to look back. It's on YouTube. I'd have to look at it. I'd have to find it. But he opens it up. It might have not been Larry Beal. It might have been somebody else, but I think that's who it was. They open that up. They open SportsCenter up, and he says it. He goes, folks, I know you were probably expecting something about Championship Sunday, but we have to lead off with what happened in LA today. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. And I was just sitting there and marveling at the greatest.
Stuart Scott.
Was it Stu Scott?
I'm looking at it now.
Okay. So it was Stu, and who else?
I see Stu opening up, and it was what's his name? Steve Levy.
Steve Levy?
The
Okay,
hockey
Steve
guy.
Levy. Okay. Sometimes Larry Beal, Steve Levy, and those guys kind of mix together. So I'm sitting there marveling at what I had witnessed that day. January 22nd of 2006 was the greatest sports day of my life. I watched Kobe drop 81 points in a game, and I saw Jerome Bettis and my Steelers go to the Super Bowl. So it was a very, very electric day for me. Very fulfilling.
Cool
day.
as the other side of the pillow, Joe.
Indeed.
Rest in peace, Stuart Scott.
Yeah, a lot of those, everybody in that a lot of people that day are gone. Unfortunately, it sucks. They should still be here.
I put the link for the YouTube in the chat just to let everyone know. So, JY says, "Does everyone understand the energy level and the motor that drive it takes to drop 81?" Joe and G. That's
no,
Kobe.
they don't. No, and that's part of.
And no, they don't. You're right. But for us, it was Kobe. That's what he had.
So this is why I become very, very aggressive in my verbiage sometimes, because I really want the few people that will listen, that think this way, to really know that there's someone out there that's really calling them out. And I'd be more than happy to say it to your face, which I've done before. This is the part where I will agree with former athletes saying you're not there, because this is something that makes way too much sense. You know how hard it is to get a shot off in the NBA? Go try and do it. Go. Oh, well, of course he scored 81 points. He took 46 shots. Now, I didn't hear that on that one. I heard it in his last game when he scored 60. Of course he scored 60. He shot 50 times. Okay, you go shoot 50 times in an NBA game. See how that will work out for you. Go ahead. It's not easy, even for a guy who's 6'6" with athletic ability. You know how many guys have been in the NBA, Gerald, that are 6'6" and have athletic ability? How many of those guys were able to shoot a ball 40 times in a game? Very, very, very few. So Kobe's feat, even that night, shooting 46 times. The guy shot 46 times and scored 81. That's pretty crazy. Was it 46 or 48? 46, I think. See, it was 24-46, I remember. Yeah, 24-46. He missed 2 free throws, and I think he hit seven threes out of 13. And that's kind of how I dissected the possibility of him getting 100 points. I started looking at that number, so I said, okay, if Kobe went, so Kobe went 24-46. He shot 52% from the field. He shot 53% from 3. He shot 90% from the free throw line. So let's say if he had hit 4 more 2-pointers, that'd be 8 more points, right? And then let's say he hit 3 more threes. He would have scored 98 points. And then, if he hit both his free throws, he would have scored 100. It sounds so small, doesn't it? Like if you'd hit 3 more threes instead of missing those 3, hit 4 more shots and hit 28 of 46 and hit both his missed free throws, he would have scored 100 points. He could have done it. He could have done it. Kobe hit 12 3-pointers in a game once. He had the record for the longest time until Clay beat it. I think he had 14. So that is the as I continue to get older here, the idiots out there that assess things differently than common sense does never really affect me too much because they're always going to believe what they want to believe, and I don't. Arguing with morons is a waste of your time. But how many players do you know that played in a regular season game in January, and we're still talking about it 19 years later? How many players can create that kind of history? If you don't think Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest of all time, top 5, then you're stupid. You're a fucking moron. Honestly, I'll say it to anybody. If you don't have Kobe in your top 5, at the very least, you're a moron. You're a chump. You don't know shit about basketball, and you don't know what the hell you're watching. And I have no respect for your basketball knowledge in any way. Zero. I don't care if you're a former NBA player. I don't care if you're doing media for the last 50 years. If you don't think Kobe Bryant is a top 5 basketball player of all time, you're a chump and you don't know shit about basketball.
So funny, though. I love that commercial that they made years later after both retired, Jalen and Kobe. It was for ESPN, if I don't believe.
Such a good commercial. Such a good commercial. It was the second look that made me laugh, where just Kobe's like, nah, just kidding. It's a joke, too. He gets it. And the thing is, Jalen sold it.
Yes.
I was so happy he sold it the way he did because it was really funny. Both of them really made me laugh. And Jalen made me laugh the second the waiter snuck up from behind him. He was just like kind of like looking around like, where'd this guy come from? Oh man. Oh no. Hey Cole,
Thameless says Soro top 5 is high, although he did agree with you on James Worthy and Dominique Wilkins. He said top 5 is high for Kobe. Okay.
Stop. He's a top 5 player of all time. There's absolutely no doubt. I know you want to throw in centers in there and all that, but it's very difficult for me to put centers in top spots. Centers need the ball distributed to them. Top 5 players usually they have to go. I got to go with the guy that can control everything. Centers can't dribble the ball from one end to the other typically. So that plays a big part in best player of all time. It's like a pitcher versus a everyday player in a lot of way. I think there's a designated big man best of all time, and then there should be a designated best player of all time. It's just it doesn't compute for me. I can't call a center the best of all time if he needs the ball given to him. You got to be someone that can control the basketball game from top to bottom. And that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Before we head on out, Joe, again, tomorrow we'll be on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. I should have the simulcast ready for you guys as well. Go ahead and check it out, YouTube and Twitch. And then, of course, the best post game that's out there after the Lakers-Celtics game is right here at the Lakers Fast Break. You were talking about something about how members of the press, if they don't think Kobe's top 5, don't know their stuff. Ichiro was among, was it 3 or 4 names headed to the Hall of Fame, just announced this past week?
Robbie Wagner, CC Sabathia, and Ichiro Suzuki.
Oh, so it's 3. It's 3. So,
yeah, 3,
so 99.7% of the eligible voters voted for Ichiro.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the guy that didn't vote for him didn't like Japanese players.
Just saying. Do we have another?
It is. It is. It's been good. There seems to be some people that have gone after this guy, but they're not making it public because I think they learned from the Fred Hickman situation with Shaq.
Mhm.
These people should have their voting rights revoked. If Ichiro is not a Hall of Famer, then who is? If you didn't want to vote for CC Sabathia or Bobby Wagner, I get it. I get it. I can get that. But Ichiro,
Ichiro's a done deal. Done deal.
how do you screw that one up? Jeter didn't even get 100 a unanimous. How do you not give Jeter a unanimous vote? And these guys should have their voting rights revoked. I'm sorry. I don't understand what the hell you're doing. I don't understand what you're doing. What are you basing that he's not a Hall of Famer off of? The guy started playing in the majors at 27, and he still hit 3,000. They had 3,000 hits coming into the league at 27. That means if he had come into the league at 22, he would have probably broke Pete Rose's record. For sure. So what is a Hall of Famer? I would ask that guy, what is a Hall of Famer to you? What? What do you have to do to be a Hall of Famer? Hit 700 home runs and have 2,000 RBIs with 3,000 hits and never get injured ever? Like, what are these guys' definition of a Hall of Famer? I don't get it.
Gustavo has a question. Which game do you think Kobe was better? The 62 in 3/4 against Dallas or the 81?
Oof. I don't know.
Good question.
We'll never know that one. Let's go this way. Let's put it this way. Let's say the Lakers were. Let's say that game ended up being the third quarter ended. Kobe's got 62, and the Mavericks have 70 points. Maybe he beats 81 in that game. Maybe he does drop 20 points and scores 82.
Or 85, let's just say.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have reached 100.
No,
85,
but see again, it's difficult. It's difficult, really, because I just broke down the details there. If he had just made 4 more shots from inside the 3 and hit 3 more threes and hit the 2 missed free throws, he would have scored 100 in the Toronto game, in the 81-point game. That's not that far off. There was a couple of shots in that game where the ball went in and out. So 4 extra shots. Well, hold on. Let me do my math again. 81, 4 shots. That makes it 89. And then 3 more threes make it, yeah. I got it right. I'm sorry. You know what? No, I'm going to stick to something. I'm going to stick to one thing. 81 was the bigger feat.
Okay.
I think 81 was a bigger feat.
Because we don't know what would have happened. Dallas could have easily just made it life difficult for Kobe in that fourth quarter.
I think because there was a conclusion to that one. I think 81 is the one that has to take precedent, because you don't really know if he was going to score 19 more points or 20 more points in the Dallas game. I think that's a good point.
Good, yeah, because you just don't know. But again, that's a great question. Truly appreciate it. A lot of great questions tonight from Robert, YRC, just the whole crew. Aaron Edick, a lot of great questions, comments. Gustavo, Thameless, a lot of great comments, questions. You guys were awesome tonight once again. Again, truly appreciate the new subscribers. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. It does really help out the channel. I saw Jovan Buha touting that he's got 20,000 subscribers, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, I've been doing it this longer. We have a better show. We're not biased. We try to get you real, honest evaluations of the Lakers. Sometimes it's not what you guys want to hear, but sometimes it's stuff that you guys need to hear. But at least we're honest with you. And yet he's got 20,000. And I'm just thinking to myself, man,
Who's
we'll
this?
get there. Buha. Jovan Buha. He recently started a YouTube channel through this season. And he just got to 20,000 subscribers. And I was like,
Well, he's got a market for
he
that,
does.
right?
Yeah, he does have a social media following because with the athletic and
So what
he's
makes
one
him
of
so
now
good?
people like his opinions, like his takes. They're not always right, like us. They're not always right, but he is part of that in crowd as far as the Lakers reporters there. He's not Shams level by any stretch, but he does seem to be the one that a lot of people seem to go to, even more so than McMenamin, as far as local Lakers stories. I'll just say that. So, but yeah, again, we're on our way. Thank you so much again for everybody out there liking and subscribing. We'll be back tomorrow. Again, is the Lakers and the Celtics. Let's hope the Tatum and Brown duo tire themselves out tonight, and let's hope they go in there and gas themselves out tomorrow, and the Lakers can get a win. We'll see as the rivalry week continues for the NBA with the rivalry. I don't know. Again, Joe, is it still a rivalry between the Lakers and Celtics? There's a little bit more emotion involved, but man, it's just not quite what it used to be.
Historical rivalry, but as far as current team, probably not.
Yeah. Just not the same edge that even in the 2010 series. Yeah, it's just not the same as what the
We
intensity.
could have had it. We could have had it if Boston could have closed out Miami in 2020, but they didn't. Could have had a Boston Laker final, and they screwed it up. There's a couple of runs there that the Lakers could have played Boston. The 2002 was one as well. Boston had at that time, one of the largest, if not the largest at that time, comebacks in NBA history in the playoffs. They went up 2-1 against the New Jersey Nets in 2002. It was Antoine Walker and Paul Pierce's team. And then they ended up losing the final three, and then Lakers ended up playing the Nets. I would have loved to have played the Celtics that year. The Lakers would have freaking mashed them in the finals.
Yep, I agree.
And they would have beat them in 2020 as well.
Alan, I think if we get to 10K on subscribers, we will probably get a little bit more noticed and probably be able to get some of these Lakers local reporters that you guys know the names of like we do on a little bit more. I tried to reach out to a couple already. Alan Siwa is probably the most notable. Xbox is mad that he didn't respond to our request for an interview when he left his radio position to start doing his own thing on YouTube. And even he is now doing his own channel on YouTube. But Joe will also be doing his own Dodgers channel on YouTube. So wait soon here because you'll have Dodgers Fast Pitch coming to a channel near you. Although he's glad to do his shows in the meantime on this channel as much as he wants as well. So he will get that started, and he's getting the gear. You can see everything's moving as far as production values, as far as what he's got ideas on. So can't wait to see what he's going to do as far as Dodgers Fast Pitch. So we'll see what happens there. But it is the Lakers and the Celtics coming tomorrow. We'll be on playback.tv, South Lakers Fast Break. And of course, post game right thereafter. Joe, any last thoughts before we head on out?
No.
Okay. Alan says, I'm going to talk to the guy who left Lakers Nation and try to get him. Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy would be cool to talk to. Yeah, seemed like a real knowledgeable kid. I did see him on a few interviews and whatnot in the past. I'd like to, just tell him Lakers Fast Break at yahoo.com. I'd love to get him on here. Yeah. And see what happens there. But JY says the only blemish on Kobe is on 06 in Game 7 in the second half, and he laid down to prove a point to the organization. I remember that one too.
I would be frustrated too if I played with Kwame Brown.
Well, you saw what we can thank Kwame Brown because it did get us Pau Gasol.
Yeah, but you had to suffer for 2 years.
You did. I'm trying to put a nice spin on it, but yes, I remember it well. We did. Hands of stone, I used to say, Kwame Brown.
Brains of bricks.
But on that note, Alan YSC, yes, this is the year that the LFB needs to blow up. So I agree. And hopefully that'll be the case. But please go ahead and tell your friends, there are Lakers fans out there, or NBA fans in general. We do a lot of here, 300 plus days a year. It is the Lakers Fast Break, bringing you the best that we can. Starting tomorrow as well, with the Lakers and Celtics, and the post game coming up right after. The best post game for the Lakers, not with Jovan Buha, Alex Liwa, the Kamenetskis, Land the Lakers, Lakers Nation, Lakers all this, Lakers all that. It's our show. It is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. We truly thank you for watching, listening. Come back tomorrow for more great stuff from all of us right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.